Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear us. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar on the topic Automated Creation of Tendering Documents with Eso by Zahnen based on Aqua Designer data. My name is Johannes Laurus. I'm head of sales at Zahnen Technik. With me is my colleague Daniel.
Yeah, welcome from my side too. My name is Daniel Roderich. I am the product manager of Eso by Zahnen. So I am responsible for the technical development.
Very excited to today's webinar. Before we start, I want to give you a brief overview of what you will get to know today. So first, I will introduce our company, Zahnen Technik, very shortly. And next, I will give you a short entry on the topic of today. So I will give you a little bit of background on our engineering platform, Eso by Zahnen. And then I will show you how Aqua Designer and Eso work together. After this, I will hand over to my colleague Daniel, as he just said, for a live demonstration of the collaboration of Aqua Designer and Eso. So if you should have any questions, please feel free to post them into the chat and we will pick up your questions at the end of the presentation. After this webinar, we will send you the slides via email so you can take a look at the slides afterwards. So let's start. Zahnen Technik is located in Germany. The company was founded in 1958 as a small business for electrical installation. Today, we have more than 130 highly qualified employees. Since the year 2000, we focus on water and wastewater plants. And since then, we developed our key competences: electrical engineering, process engineering, mechanical engineering, digitization, and standardization. Based on that, we could successfully do more than 500 successful reference projects. We are located at 2 sites in Germany, and we can look back on decades of experience in plant engineering. We are Siemens solution partner and ePlant solution partner, and over the years, we built up 7 successful business segments with our own products that we offer our customers in the water and wastewater industry. One of these business segments is Eso by Zahnen, which we will get to know today a little bit better. So to give you a short overview to Eso by Zahnen, let's look at the timeline. In 2011, we started with the development of Eso by Zahnen. Basically, those were the first steps of standardization and digitization of our engineering process. Eso stands for Individual Standard Optimization, which basically means every company has its own individualities, and by standardizing those, you can optimize the process. In 2014, Eso was fully developed, and we at Zahnen Technik started to use it as our engineering tool. In 2018, Eso moved into the cloud and was expanded to an all-in-one engineering platform. Since then, first customers implemented Eso as their everyday engineering tool. And today, Eso is an established, as we call it, digital employee to support you in planning, tendering, and construction of plants in the water and wastewater sector. And as we say it, Eso is more than just a tool. Eso is a way of working. In fact, it's the next level of approaching the engineering process. Because instead of copying old projects and customizing these to a new project, and putting sweat and tears into every new project again and again and repeating those steps, but still copying old mistakes that weren't found, ISO goes a whole different way. By digitizing technical standards, the platform gets fed with information, and documents and files are no longer copied manually, but instead they are created automatically based on that information. To give you an overview of what documents we are talking about, you can generate with ISO, for example, a bill of quantity. So a bill of quantity in a detail like a FIDIC Red Book tender. And it's basically because all the information is there. We take the information from Aqua Designer and build on that the bill of quantities. That means you will get a FIDIC Red Book tender without putting very much effort in it because, as I said, the information is there. Furthermore, we can generate technical drawings. We can generate requirements specification, even PLC programs, and circuit diagrams can be generated too. All these output documents are created based on the added information and digitized standard requirements. That way, the diligent work is automated and the engineer can focus on the individuality of the project. That means all documents are created in open file formats, so they can be easily individualized. To compare the ISO process of engineering with a conventional approach, let me show you this slide. So here you can see, as of today, in a conventional way, you will do your process planning within Aqua Designer, and as soon as you get into tender creation, you will have a vast amount of different file types that are used. So you have Microsoft Office documents, you have PDFs, you have ePlan data, you have AutoCAD data, DWGs, and so on, and many more. And in a conventional process, you don't have versionizing. You have, if it's a big tender and a lot of documents, you will lose at some point your overview, and the possibility of information loss is very high, and information differences between those documents, because not every document is updated after a certain change. In ISO, that looks a bit different. So you have your process planning in Aqua Designer, and through an interface, we input that data into ISO, and with our license Water Pioneer, we can pick up those data and work based on that and add information, and can then generate automated documents based on these information. So the Water Pioneer includes all the shown files above, and based on that, the documents are created. To look again at the conventional process, from that on, after the tender creation, when you go into detail planning, the whole mass of documents starts again. So you will have again a lot of documents, no versionizing, and so on. In ISO, you just have an interface between the license Water Pioneer, which is for tender creation, to the Water Engineer, which is specifically for detail planning. And you can build your detail planning on the data before. So there's no information loss, everything is there, and the documents you created are all on the same basis. And again, all the output documents can be edited afterwards manually if necessary. So to show you an example of the established workflow, as I just said, you will have your Aqua Designer for process planning. These information are imported through an interface into ISO, and in ISO you will do your engineering, and based on that, automatically the tender documents that are required are generated. And as a result, you will have the complete tender in FIDIC Redbook without putting more effort into it as if you would do a FIDIC Yellowbook tender, for example. And all that is done with our license Water Pioneer. And again, the water engineer can pick up this data and work furthermore. So to sum up, the advantages is, well, one of the biggest advantages of ESO is the avoidance of mistakes. Since you have a guided process in your engineering and every information is still there and you have one single source of truth where the information comes from. So every document that you create is based on the same information. So there's no differences in those documents. So you have a big avoidance of mistakes. And as we all know, mistakes are sometimes very costful. Which brings me to the next advantage. You have a significant cost and time saving. Because of the standardization and digitization, you will gain much more time to focus on the really difficult and interesting part, and you don't have to do the diligent work anymore. Since ESO is a cloud product, it's available 24/7 all around the world. So you can work with a colleague at the other side of the planet together at the same project on the same information. Since you can further use the pre-planning data from Aqua Designer, you have a supportive interface where no information gets lost and every detail of the process planning gets picked up. And based on that, you can then automatically create tender documents, technical documents, and as you just saw, a whole bunch of files, for example, DWGs. And another big advantage is you have that one standard, but you can work in several languages, which means the platform is multilingual. So you can work, let's say, your engineering in English, but since the customer is Russian, you can import the information all in English and the output will be Russian. Okay, so I talked now a lot about ESO, and now I will hand over to Daniel, who will show you in a live demonstration what ESO really looks like.
Yeah, thank you very much, Johannes. And as you've seen in the presentation, the work with ESO starts where the work with the Aqua Designer ends. So we wanted to create an interface between the Aqua Designer and the ESO. And as you can see on my screen here, I think you all know this table. It's an export of from the Aqua Designer where you get the information about the machines, the measurements, and the pipelines. And this format that you all know, we can import into the ESO platform. So the ESO platform itself, as Johannes said, is a cloud-based platform or a cloud platform. So you can reach ESO with your normal browser like Firefox here, and you have your personal account, your personal access data, and you can log in to the platform. And so it's available 24/7 all around the world, and you can log in to your personal access and to your personal space in the cloud. As you now you see the starting page of the cloud, you see an overview of the existing projects you have. And as you can see, the platform now is in German, but the platform is multilingual, so I can switch to English here and the user interface switches to English. And we can add several, and any language you want, we can add to the platform, and we can translate the platform to any language we want or you want. And this is for the user interface and also for the output documents that we generate. So let's create a new project. I'll take the data today. Let's say So a very important thing when you create a project is the choose of the standard, because like ISO says, ISO stands for individual standard optimization. So every client has its individual needs, its individual requirements, and every client gets its own standard, so its individual standard that is tailored to his needs or their needs. So that every projects from different clients can look completely different because they are tailored to the needs and the requirements of the client. And so it's very important to choose the standard, because it's the project is created in this standard and it looks like the client wants it and needs it. So let's create a new project. On the starting page here, you see the overview of the project. So the project is the digital configuration of the technical parameters or the technical properties of the project. And in our case here, we separated the project into 3 objects, into machines, into measurements, and into bill of quantities. But like I said, it can look completely different in your standard if you have other requirements. So for example, here in this table, I can create as many machines as I want, and a machine is defined by different technical parameters like name or technical data and so on and so on. But if I have to fill out everything by hand, it's much work. And because of that, now it's a big advantage if you use the Aqua Designer, because like we've seen before in the Excel table, we can export the information about the machines and the measurements and the pipes and so on from the Aqua Designer in Excel. And so here we can import this data from the Excel list. And then there's in the background, automatically there are created objects for every machine that is in the Excel list, as you can see here. And every information that we can get from the Excel table or from the Aqua Designer is filled out automatically, like the name, the designation, the power, the process stage, and so on and so on. So we can use all the information that is in the Aqua Designer, and we don't have to enter it by hand. Another thing you can see here is that some parameters are marked red, and this is because we have for every standard in the background we have rules or an intelligence that connect the parameters with each other. And for example, here in this case, say okay, the parameters that are marked red are required for generating the documents, and so it's marked red so that the user can see, okay, I have to fill out this information, and when he did this, then it's no longer red. So that's one of many rules that we configure in the background, and this is what we call digitalized knowledge, because here we define for your standard, we digitalize your knowledge that you have for your process engineering or for your plant engineering, so that the user gets lead through through the configuration of the machines and the measurements and so on, and you avoid a failure with that. Another example or an easy example for the connection of 2 parameters is here machine group and machine type. Machine group is the bigger one, so you say blower or pump or something like that, and machine type specifies the machine group. So for example, if I choose blower here, then I can here choose between 3 specific blowers, and if I switch to a pump, for example, then I only can choose parameters that fit to the pump. So these parameters are connected to each other so that you only can choose the right things. And like I said, there are many possibilities we can connect parameters to each other. This is only a very simple example. Okay, so like you see, we have some technical data here. We have the process engineering, where most of the information come from the Aqua designer. We have electrical engineering, but the user the user can choose its own level of detail. So if I don't want electrical engineering, then I don't fill out something here, or in my individual standard, I leave it completely out of the map. I think the most interesting part here for today is the bill of quantities. And here in the bill of quantities, like Johannes said, we want to create FIDIC record. So we want to create detailed tendering based on FIDIC Redbook, and we want to create it in a simple way. So I have two options to choose a text source. Here in this case, for example, text input and planned data. With this option, I can choose an introduction text that opens the, for example, here for the pump, I choose the text for the pump that all these texts come from from our databases, and it's only a small example of which text we have in our databases. And I can choose a closing text that closes the position for the pump, for example, this. And now these texts are written in these fields automatically in the background. And after that, I can edit them if I want, or I can leave it like that. And between those two texts, there comes the planned data with this option. So planned data, these are the parameters that we configured above here. For example, for the pump, the delivery rate, or the convincing medium. This is air because it's a blower. But I chose pump here. But so the parameters that I define up there, technical the technical parameters are listed up then. The second option that I have is to choose a specific product. If I know, okay, I know exactly which blower or which pump or which measurement I want in this place, then I can choose from our database. For example, here the manufacturer, in this case for a pump, for example, Xylem, the series, for example, this, and then the specific product. And like you see here, for every product we have the detailed tender text from our from the manufacturer in our database. And so if I know, okay, I want to have this NP 3102, then I choose the product, and now automatically the tender text from the manufacturer gets filled out here in this in this area or in this field. So these are the two options that we have to define the tender text for our machines, measurements, and so on. When you have finished your configuration, you can do the same for the measurements. You also can import it. It's the same like the machines. And afterwards, you can create your structure from the bill of quantities or for the bill of quantities. And here you can create, like you can see here, you can create nested structures with different levels. So you can configure your structure, or you also can, if you don't want to do it on hand, you can import templates. But you can create a nested structure with different levels here, and there you define your chapters of the bill of quantities. For example, here I would do call it machine 1 or something like that, and then I also have 3 different options for the data or the information that is placed in my chapter. Option 1 is the free input. Free input, like the name says, I can write a text on my own, or I can choose templates from our database. For example, here for a construction site setup or a function test or something like that. I choose now the first here, and then it's like by the machines. The text is placed automatically in the field, and I can edit it afterwards. The second option that I have is to connect it to the machines or to the measurements. So if I choose machines here, then I can connect the chapter of the bill of quantities to a machine that I configured in the area machines with its technical parameters. And so, like you see here, I have a list of every machine that I imported from the Aqua Designer and that I have configured in my area machines. For example, I can choose the blower here, and then automatically the chapter is connected to the machine, and the information that we have configured there are taken from the machine and written in the chapter. Okay, so to show you how a complete bill of quantities then looks like, I have prepared another project, but it's based on the same. It's based on the same information from the Aqua Designer, but I completed them. So I completed the configuration of the machine here, for example. I added some technical data, and I chose products here, for example, for the blower. I did the same for the measurements. I have configured 3 measurements, and I created a bill of quantities structure that you can see here. So I have my document bill of quantities. In my bill of quantities, I have 4 chapters. The first is general execution. There I have some chapters for like the construction site setup, briefing, test run, and so on. In the chapter mechanical engineering, I have, like I said, it's the detailed tender. I have a chapter for every machine where the parameters from the mechanical engineering are listed up. Then a chapter electrical engineering where the electrical engineering for every machine is placed, and a chapter for the measurements. But it's on your own how you want to structure your bill of quantities. It's only an example I created here. So, and if you have finished your configuration, you can choose what you want to generate. In our case here for the webinar, only the bill of quantities, but like you've seen in the presentation, there are many more outputs that you can create with this data. But I start the generating now, and it only takes a few seconds. So in the background now there is the technical data that we configured is combined with the text templates from our database, and the document is built up. And as you can see, it only takes a few seconds, and now we have our result as a Word file. Yes, I will open it here. Okay, so as you can see, we have a full Word file with a header, with a footer, and with a complete table of contents. It's also intelligent, so I can show the navigation in the navigator here and navigate through these chapters. And like you see, it's the structure that I configured. So I have my 4 chapters: general execution, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and measurements. And yeah, I have a position for every chapter or position I defined in ISO. Like here, the general execution, and I think the most interesting one, the mechanical engineering. And as you remember, we have these two options for the mechanical engineering. We have the option that we choose a specific product from our database, like here, or specific text from our database, like here. The blower, I chose a specific text or product from our database, and the complete text is placed here in the bill of quantities. And the second machine here, I made an example for the second option that we have. So we have our introduction text, we have our closing text, and then we have a list of every technical parameter that we configured in our user interface, and what defines the machine. And yeah, like you see here, for example, the process stage or the convincing medium, the delivery rate, all these are parameters that come from the Aqua designer, and without have manual work at some place, you configured it in your Aqua designer, you exported it, you imported it, and now it's here in the bill of quantities without touching it. So it's very easy to place the information from the Aqua designer right here in the bill of quantities. Yeah, and so we have a chapter for every machine here. I think I can go through it a little bit more fast, or I can jump here through the navigation to the next chapter, the electrical engineering. Here it's the same. We have our introduction text, we have a closing text, and we have a list of the technical parameter that we defined to specify the electrical engineering for the machine. And so this is it's powerful because these information that are listed here in the requirement in the bill of quantities. So you have detailed tender, very easy. You've seen I created it in 5 to 10 seconds. It's the document is generated, and these information that are in the bill of quantities yes, can be used for detail engineering afterwards. So I have the platform as a central or a single source of truth where my machine or my measurement or my plant is configured, and every document I generate is based on these information. So I have the information at a single source of truth, and I can use the information for detail engineering or something like that. Okay, and like we've seen, I can use the information from the Aqua designer with no more work. Yeah, the last chapter is for the measurements. It's nearly the same. So I have my text from my database. I have my parameters that I configured, and so this is how we can configure and generate a bill of quantities with not much work. And we have a standardized bill of quantities that we can generate in many languages. It's multilingual. The text base is multilingual, and also the central management of these texts in our platform is a big advantage, because if you realize, okay, there's something is wrong with the text, you correct it in one place, so in your database or in our database, and then every document you generate afterwards is on the new uses the new template, and it's correct then. Because so also here you have these single source of truth, and like I said, it's only a demonstration, so the complete configuration here can look different for you because we tailor it to your needs. Therefore, the platform is called individual standard optimization. And yeah, I think the generating documents is a very powerful, very powerful tool. So I think this was it from my side, from the live demonstration. Johannes, I will give back to you in the studio and I will join you to ask questions.
And if we have some questions here that were posted in the chat. Oh, there are quite a few. So we have here a couple of questions, and I think there are two questions that are quite similar. One is, do you provide the standard texts by ISO? And another, where does the text / the data come from?
Okay, yeah. I think it's nearly the same question, so I can answer it in one.
I'm guessing it's the text in the bill of quantity.
Yes. So this is the text the databases you've seen in my presentation, or the you can choose from this table. They come from different places. So we have our own, like the first question. Yes. So we have our own databases from Zahnen where our knowledge is, we put it in our knowledge and our work, and all these databases that come from us are automatically in an ISO license. So if you buy an ISO license, you automatically buy these databases and this digitalized knowledge. So you have access to it, yes. So I think that was the first question. And the second, where does maybe other texts come from? We have several options to connect databases to ISO. So there are our databases, and we also manage the information in there, so it's always up to date. This is a service from us. And the second, you can create your own databases that you can put your own data in, and where we can connect any database you want. So we are very flexible here, so that we can connect ERP systems or databases from manufacturer where they give us their texts, and or databases from your company. So we are very flexible there. And like I've said in the demo, this was only a small example from the text that we have in our database.
Okay. So the next question would be, is the Excel sheet automatically generated by Aqua Designer?
Yes, it's a standard function of the Aqua Designer, and I think the function is there with the Aqua Designer version right now. You can export your Excel table, but we have optimized the output so that ISO and Aqua Designer work better together. And with the next version of the Aqua Designer that comes in March or something like that, the function is a little bit redesigned so that it fits better to ISO. And also a new thing is that we connected the article databases from ISO and Aqua Designer, so that you have a continuous data flow or information flow. And these are new functions of the Aqua Designer, yes. And it's created automatically, yes.
Okay. Next question is, how safe is the cloud?
Yes, this is This is a question that we often someone asks these questions, and in my opinion, nothing is safer but a cloud for your information, because in our case we use or we host Eso on Microsoft Azure, So Microsoft is a big company with many manpower and many experts are there to guarantee that the cloud is safe and always up to date, and 24/7 someone cares about that it's always up to date and it's always safe. So in this case, in my opinion, it's safer than a local server system where only one person cares about the security or the safety. And second, the information is backed twice or 3 times is backed. And so you can't lose information. So if the information is in a platform, you never lose it. And in our cloud, like I said before, maybe only in a small sentence, every client has its own space. So no one can enter the space of another client. Even we cannot enter your space except you asked us to. So your data is safe in the cloud.
Okay. Here's another question. How can I get Eso and what are the costs? To get Eso, we would take a look at your individual requirements. That would happen in a web meeting, for example. And based on those requirements, we can calculate the costs. And the costs are there are 2 parts, basically. So there's the setup costs to implement Eso in your company, and the second part is the repeating license costs, which are based on the amount of licenses that you need. But we could get into that in detail in a individual online meeting and discuss further steps. So if you are interested, just get in touch with us, and we will get to know your requirements. Okay. There's another question. Is it possible to export the tender, for example, or other formats like GAP?
It's possible, because the structure in the background, the object structure, we created it like GAP or like FIDIC Redbook, so it fits to many formats, and the structure of the tender is always the same, and we can export this structure in different formats. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's no other question left. So if you should have questions afterwards, you can always reach us. Again, for questions, further information, or if you want an individual follow-up meeting to get to know your advantages and for us to get to know your requirements, just get in touch with us. You can reach Daniel on the contact data shown, and we would be happy to help you to optimize your engineering process.
Yes, please. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Yeah, so we are at the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a good overview of what Eso and Aqua Designer are capable in collaboration. And we hope to hear from you soon. So thank you very much and goodbye.
Goodbye.